Hi, I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach parenting and good communication and child development all over the world through the lens of the principle self-government. And in this video, we're talking about how to raise moral children in an immoral world. In this video, we're going to talk about moral, what that really means, what's going on with the world, and what benefits come to the child and society by raising them in a moral way. We're also going to talk about what you can do to better create an environment where you can raise moral children, no matter what's going on outside. So what is moral? What does it mean? People sometimes use different definitions of moral. Some people think that moral is just not telling lies, and other people think that moral is this broader thing, which means that you don't do anything that's wrong. So basically it is the broader one. Lies factor in there, right? If you're not telling lies, you are being a moral person. If you are telling lies, you're being immoral. But the whole idea of morality means that you have an attachment to principle or to truth. So basically understanding what's right and wrong, good and bad, true and false are morals. Now here's the thing. There has to be a foundation for the morals somewhere. Otherwise anyone could say, well, that's my right, so I'm being totally moral. Or, well, that's my truth, so I'm being totally moral. The whole idea of morality suggests that there is an author of morality. It suggests that there is someone, let's say God, who determined that this is right or wrong. Think 10 Commandments, think Moses, think Old Testament here, okay? We have been told as a human population for years that there are things like lying, stealing, killing another person that are just wrong. Why in the world are they wrong if someone can make up their own morals? Well, they wouldn't be. If you could do anything you wanted and call it moral, then there would be no morality, actually. So there either is morality or there isn't morality. And there has to be an author of morality, otherwise there is no morality. So for the sake of this video, we're gonna go ahead and say that people wanting to watch this video are hopefully on the same page that there is some author of morality and that you're wanting your child to follow the author of morality, which has dictated what is right and wrong, good and bad, true and false. You want your children to know the difference between those things. Now, what happens for your child if they do understand morality? So what do the children get out of it? You know what? They get a lot of security out of being raised in a moral way. If you make those lines clear for them, this is right, this is wrong, this is good, this is bad, this is true, this is false, then your children go, okay, now I know my boundary lines. Now I know where to stop myself. Now I know what I am seeing around me. Now, I know a lot of parents struggle with this because they think, well, but what if there's somebody else that is doing something different? What if I teach my child that it is wrong to do drugs? But then we know somebody else who is doing drugs. We love that person, but they're doing drugs. How do I rectify that? What do I tell my child? Do I just ignore it and hope my child doesn't notice? The answer is no. Deliberate parents do not ignore it. They discuss it. They discuss it. So what you're going to do is you're going to say, you know, in our family, we know that it is wrong to take drugs. It's not good for our body because, right? So you're going to tell them the why. You're going to say, because this is what it does to your brain. Because if you take drugs, especially before the age of 15, it ruins your brain function permanently in this way, in this way. You're going to tell them stuff. Plus you're going to say, plus it makes you dependent on something. And if you ever are dependent on a substance in some way, then that means it can control you. And that goes against freedom, right? So you're going to explain all of these whys to the child, which is actually really interesting to them. And then you're going to say, but they may not know that, or they may already be addicted and maybe they don't really care, or they're just not at a place right now where they want to handle that and give themselves a no answer. So we're going to love them, even though they're doing something that we wouldn't do. But every time you see it, I want you to think and to remember, no, we don't do that. That's not good because that's bondage. So you are going to teach that to your children, even though you still can teach them to love the other person. discuss it. Super important. So what happens to a child? A child feels secure. A child feels like they understand the world. They have direction. They can talk with you about anything if you spend the time to teach them what's right and wrong, good and bad, true and false. And if you teach them those underlying morals, that gives them reasons or rationales why they won't want to do bad behaviors and why they will want to do good behaviors. If you're teaching them how to problem solve, it gives them reasons to find good solutions to their problems instead of just getting caught up in the minute, which can happen to any of us. We're going to talk about what moral development for children does to society. We're also going to talk about how society is undermining morality and what to do to fix the problem. But first, click the subscribe button. Are you liking what you're hearing today on this channel? There's a whole lot more of it and I don't want you to miss it, so click subscribe now. So what does society get out of it if a child is trained to know what's right and wrong, good and bad, true and false? Well, your society is completely different. If society thinks that it can make up its own morality, and there's no ultimate author of morality, then everyone is going to make up their own morality based on their wants, their pleasures, their desires, their whims. And they will misuse each other. People will treat others awful if there's no morality. So if there is morality, there should also be respect, reverence for other people, love, compassion, kindness, caring. If you truly have morality, you should also have charity for all the people around you, because being charitable is part of being moral. That's why you can talk about how something is maybe wrong morally, but you see somebody else doing it, but you still love them anyway. You can show that charity because that type of charity is the moral way to be. It's the way God would have people be. That's what it really means to be moral, is to live according to his laws. Your whole society becomes more prosperous, happier, more united. There's less contention if everyone has a base of morality and if people are focused on training their children to have it. So how is society undermining morality? Society right now is giving the message that each person gets to make up their own morality. You do you. What is your truth? Find your truth. You live your truth. This is what everyone is told. Follow your passions. Live your dreams. These are the messages that are given to adults and children alike. It makes it so that we are totally focused on self, not in a way where we're controlling ourselves and being calm and finding that self-government or self-control, but in a way where we focus on how can we get the world or other people to give us what we want? How can we go and get what it is that we want instead of how can we become who we should become? When you are a moral person, you're in a state of becoming. When you are immoral, you are in a state of taking from other people. You feel like you deserve, so you take. You deserve to be this way. That's what you want. It's your morality. It's your right and wrong. And you want people to leave you alone. And you know what? Whether they're immoral or moral, they probably will leave you alone. And that leaves you stuck. But we don't want to perpetuate that. A whole bunch of people feeling stuck, which leads to feeling down, which leads to higher levels of anxiety and depression and disconnectedness from other people because of increased selfishness. This is not a good plan for society. Our society is pushing a false message at us. And we have got to counter it. We have got to teach the children there truly are moral absolutes. There are right and wrong, good and bad, true and false. We need to bring books to their view that you can read, things like Little House on the Prairie or Little Britches, Father and I Were Ranchers by Ralph Moody. And that series of books, so many books have been written over the years, especially some of the older books like Little Women, Little Men, like Les Miserables. They focus on what's right and what's wrong, what's good and what's bad, what's true and what's false. And when we find those things out, we find out who we are. And that is something that people are missing. They are craving. Who are they? Who are you? Did you know that breeding a society that all has to question who they are also undermines morality? Because if you don't know who you are and you have to try everything under the sun to try to figure it out, then you have to push away moral to go on a self-discovery journey. But if you hold fast to knowing who you are as a person, who you are as a mother, as a father, as a child, that identity is born within the family dynamic, then you will know who you are when it comes to living a moral way. If you know who you are as a mother, then you know what it means to be a good one. And then you will live it. That means you will be moral. But if you don't want to be a mother, you don't like being a mother, you reject that identity of being a mother, then you're going to be immoral in the way that you live that role. Knowing who you are is another big thing that's undermining the morality in our culture. In fact, we're redefining everyone. We're coming up with so many definitions on a regular basis that I think there are some people who will be perpetually flowing between one thing and another, and they won't be finding the proper attachments that they need to truly feel complete. So what do we do about it? We create an environment where our family knows who they are. And it just so happens that I wrote a book about it. This book, Roles: The Secret to Family, Business, and Social Success, is a story about a family who is struggling knowing who they are to each other. And because of that, they have contention. Things aren't running well at home. They're having a hard time solving family problems. But when they acknowledge their roles, and I don't mean who does the dishes or goes to work, okay? I mean who you really are in your identity with your family. What is it that you are to that other person? It's talked about in here. And when you recognize that, that changes all of your communications. Then you're ready to learn skills of communication that can transform those everyday problem-solving moments. Work and how to help children learn how to work is just one little secret for parenting success, but I have more. In fact, I have a full class for you that I think you will enjoy, and it is called The Not So Known Secret for Parenting Success. So click on the link to that full-length class right now and learn more about teaching your family self-government and helping to solve those problems before they even start.